Welcome to our weekly reading where we explore all things astrological. We hope you're doing really well and staying safe out there. From our two different points of view in two different locations in the world, we bring to you a unique astrological perspective on what is happening right now across the globe. So here we go. Hi, everybody. This is Diana Lang in LA and Cary in the UK, and we're here this week to talk about this week's stars. We've had a doozy of a week so far, and we're coming into some more intensification, which has been sort of the rule in the last weeks, over and over, more intensity. The good news is Mercury goes direct tomorrow, Sunday. And so that should give a little bit of relief of finally getting back on track again, or that feeling of. And it takes a few days as it wibble wobbles out of Mercury retrograde into a direct motion again. It's coming out at 5 degrees Cancer. So if you know your chart, it's nice to know if you have any planets at that degree, or degrees that are harmonious or inharmonious to that, you can tell what kind of a Mercury experience you might be having. Remember, Mercury rules how we communicate, how we offer information, how we collect information, how we datify that information and put it back out there. So it's in Cancer, which are feelings. So a lot of the information may be emotional. You may be having dreams. You may be having feelings of realization, but emotional realization more than mental realization. Of course, it will translate into mental, but first it's going to feel emotional. And so let that happen. Don't stop that emotional flow. There's a lot of information in that Mercury going direct in Cancer for us in our lives right now. So Cary, how are you finding things over there in London?
It's going to be quite a week. As you said, Mercury's gone direct. But the most interesting thing to me this week is that the Sun is opposing the stellium in Capricorn. And the Moon, as it conjuncts Mars and goes on its journey, is going to cause a T-square between the Sun and itself and the stellium. So this is actually a very important week for news on the coronavirus, the knock-on effects of the coronavirus, how it's going to affect us going on, and it might be a little bit of an uncomfortable week. It's going to be a challenge. Bear in mind, when the coronavirus started, the Sun was in Capricorn with his stellium. Now it's in opposition, and all those planets are retrograde. We're not out of trouble yet, but it's a time of real change. And this week is going to be the start of it, I think. The reason it's the start of it is because it's going to challenge the stellium in quite an adverse way. So, for example, in the UK, everybody's out and about. They're easing out lockdown on every week. But there's huge issues coming up. Is it business which is important? Is it health which is important? What's important right now? And these are the questions that are challenging people. And it's quite clear that Mars energy, that squaring of, the Moon conjuncting Mars and then squaring the stellium and the Sun at the same time is really going to focus on that. There's going to be some very strong questions asked in the next 7 days.
Right, and it is good to remember that last week we talked about Mars moving into Aries, and it's been there for 10 days or so now, something like that, and it's going to be going through Aries on, and that Aries energy is forward energy. And so when a planet is in its own sign, it loves to be in Aries. It is where it makes quick decisions, fast decisions. It makes choices. At the same time, last week, Mercury was retrograde and had been for a few weeks. So now Mercury comes out of retrograde. Mars is still in Aries and it's square. Mars square Mercury. So there's tension as it moves, which means not getting the information we like to hear, not going as we wish it would, and so a frustrated kind of forward motion.
I was thinking how that stellium is affecting people's charts. So How would it affect someone if their sun was in Capricorn at 23 degrees, for example, or their Venus or their moon in Capricorn? This is a time of incredible change. And these people who've got those planets at that particular degree will be feeling the full impact of everything that happens to that stellium. And that also goes for people who've got their sun in Libra around about 24 degrees, or their moon in Libra at about 24 degrees. This is an incredibly challenging time. So if you do know what your chart looks like, have a look and see what's in Capricorn at the moment, or in Libra, or in Aries, or in Cancer at that particular degree, because you will be feeling this probably much more than anybody else.
In astrology, knowing beforehand something is happening or while it's happening puts more understanding in how and why and what we can do with those aspects rather than being done to. We can start to use those aspects like a motor, like energy towards those subjects, and it can be life-changing in a really positive way or not. It all depends on what we do with it.
And it also depends on how many planets are in that particular sign at that particular degree, because in some cases you may have the Sun, Mercury and Venus all in Capricorn, all in Cancer, all in Libra, or all in Aries. Knowing this, you can actually make plans on how to go forward because you understand what is going on at the moment. Having Pluto conjunct your moon, for example, is the most powerful thing that can possibly happen emotionally, astrologically, because of the slow moving of Pluto and the effect that it has. So if it squares your moon, or if it opposes your moon, this is a time of incredible change, emotional change. And if it's Venus, it'd be changes on the love and the sex front. And if it's Mercury, it'd be changes in the way that you think, because you're forced to change in the way that you think. So it's quite an extraordinary time. One, for the world, and two, for every individual, but it is felt in a different way, depending on where all the planets are in your natal chart.
So wherever Pluto falls in our chart as it's slowly moving around its 244-year cycle around our chart, if it touches any planet in our chart, expect a regeneration.
And having Saturn there and Jupiter there, Saturn makes it harder, Jupiter softens it a little bit.
Right, because it's almost like whatever planet is there, let's say it was Venus, the planet of love, was being opposed, right, with the Cancer opposing that Saturn. It would be like being cracked open and then having to reevaluate everything you think about that subject, like love, if it was Venus. So it's pretty intense for people to, when they have degrees at these important points, how it influences the life. And it really, really does. And that's why it's good to have your chart done once in a while and kind of do a tune-up, because you can sort of work with these energies rather than sort of feel attacked by these energies at times. Because if you know something's coming, it lets you navigate that energy a little better than if you didn't. Because it sort of broadsides us, like, where did that come from? And it's just in the air. That's what I call it. It's in the air, which means it's in the stars, right? Energies are moving in the universe and they affect us.
It's really important for people to focus on their own personal natal charts at the moment. Because if you're feeling things very strongly with everything that's going around, it might be interesting to see the dynamics that are happening there. Because I've always found that when something incredible happens, whether it's good or bad, and then I look at my chart in retrospect, I can see exactly what's happened. And sometimes you know that things could change very quickly.
Yes, and so many people have been saying to me, what's going on? Am I the only person that's experiencing so much upset in their lives? And I'm like, no, everyone's experiencing this. Where you experience it in your life is going to depend on where it falls in your chart. But that everyone is experiencing this, yes, they are. And so don't take it personally. Work with the energies that are at hand and try to use them in a way that makes your life better or improves it in some way. Because remember, sometimes you have to let things go in order to grow. And that is what the whole world is going through right now. So on that note, we will leave you with that to think about as you move into your next week with a big open heart and curiosity and using these energies in a creative and positive way, even though they are challenging. Just know that it's always for our growth. And here we go to the next week. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week.